Hey everybody, my name is the Welsh Assassin and welcome to an unusual video. Um, this video is me ranking Resident Evil games that I have played, I have adored, I have loved, and I will always go back to playing. This is my personal opinion, so don't torch me if it's not your opinion, it's mine. Feel free to discuss your opinions. It's in the comments. It's 100% fine. I will be looking. I will be comparing. I'm just here to show my love for the franchise ahead of Resident Evil 9. So without further ado, let's simply begin. So, S tier, A, B, C, D. S is the best, D is the worst, B is middle, A and C is self-explanatory. So, I have played most of the Resident Evil titles. I will explain which one, or I will tell you guys which ones I haven't played and which ones I have. So let's go. Resident Evil 1, the original. Immediately, I'm going to be putting an S. It started survival horror. It started the horror franchise once again in gaming. It's a staple. Its mechanics, its camera angles, the dialogue is a bit iffy, we all know that. But when it comes to the future of the world of gaming, in my opinion, Resident Evil is one of the staple games. Its story was brilliant, the gameplay was brilliant, there were multiple endings. It's just chef's kiss in my opinion, and it deserves to be an S. I will be ranking them in order on the tier list, so this is going to be entertaining. Resident Evil 2. So I'm going to put them in B for now. I will move up. Resident Evil 2, I've played a little bit. The original Resident Evil 2, I've played a little bit of it. Unlike Resident Evil 1, I've played it, I've completed it on a few occasions. But Resident Evil 2 original, I've only played it a bit. I haven't completed it. Don't worry, as soon as Resident Evil 9 has concluded, after I've played that, I will be playing the original Resident Evil 2 after. My channel is gaming, that's what it is, and I want to become a Resident Evil content creator. And I've played Resident Evil 1 remake on my channel. I've recently completed Resident Evil 0. I will be playing Resident Evil 9 when it comes out, and then I will be playing throughout the main game line series. Regardless, Resident Evil 2 is something that I'm looking forward to. I understand the game's potential. Still to this day, the potential is immense. The history on it is brilliant. It just copy and pasted Resident Evil and made it better, but there was a lot of flaws with Resident Evil 2 original that I've been told, but it's a great game nonetheless. I want to give it S, I really do. It would be S, but since I haven't played it completely, I am going to put it in A. I know the game's worth. I know what the game is worth, 100%. And I'll come back to this tier list after I've completed all mainline Resident Evil games. I will. So, Resident Evil 3 Nemesis. I haven't played it at all. I've seen people play it, I've watched people play it, just like Resident Evil 2 Remake. I haven't played it complete. Resident Evil 3, I haven't even touched, but I have seen people play both games, and Resident Evil 3 just it destroyed expectations. It completely destroyed expectations, and without a game exceeding expectations, it's just a base game in my opinion. So Resident Evil 3 actually did really well for the franchise. It showed the world of gaming that there's more to come from Capcom with this franchise, and Resident Evil 3 says it out loud and clear and proud. I'm giving it an S, however I would not put it above Resident Evil 1. Resident Evil Survivor, I have played, I have completed. It's one of the lesser known Resident Evil games. It's an arcade typey game. But it's within the franchise in its own right. It's a brilliant game. But it's clunky. It's the controls is unpredictable. It's a lot more finicky. You have to be precise. The story's not that captivating, I won't lie. It's still a very good game, and any Resident Evil fan that wants to play all these games, I highly recommend anything above a B. So, Resident Evil Survival will be our first B. Resident Evil Code Veronica, I have played. I've completed it once, I've played it twice, and I've got halfway through the game on my second playthrough. And just because I have played it once and completed it once, and I've played it a second time halfway through, I know what the game is, and I'm putting it above Code Veronica, above Resident Evil 2. Code Veronica is the perfect missing detail game for between Resident Evil 1, 2, 3, and 4, in my opinion. It is the most perfect filler of a story you could get. Chris, Rebecca, Albert Wesker, a bunch of the Veronica twins, and a bunch of other situations that Claire gets herself in. It's just a perfect filler. It's like a filler episode on a show, and it just comes out above an 8.5 rating. It's perfect for a filler, and I love the game so much. Resident Evil Survivor 2, it's not as good as Survivor 1 in my opinion. I have played it, I've completed it once, I've played it once, and I will not go back to it unless I want to. So Resident Evil Survivor 2, it's a lot less grounded than Survivor 1. Capcom changed a lot of things in Survivor 2 to Survivor 1, and those changes were necessary for relevancy, and they weren't because it's a clash. But I enjoyed the game, but I wouldn't replay it in my leisure. I'll replay it if it's there in front of me and I get to play it again. Resident Evil Gaiden, I've completed it once, many years ago, but I'm putting it above Resident Evil Survivor, the first one. I loved playing Resident Evil Gaiden. I've watched people play all these games on the list, and I'm not gonna lie, Resident Evil Gaiden is one of my favourite Resident Evils to watch new players and returning players play. It's just entertaining. Resident Evil HD Remastered. This is biased, and it's not. It might be. It might stay at S tier, at the top of S tier for the majority of the tier list. Resident Evil 1 HD Remake and HD Remaster. I'm going to say HD Remaster for this video. It takes everything Resident Evil 1 did, 2 and 3 did, and made it better. It made it more gloomy, it made it darker, it made it have more anticipation, and they added Lisa Trevor, a story to make the game longer and more entertaining. And I go back to this game so much. I timed myself once in the past around COVID time, 2019, 2020, and I couldn't believe it. I completed the game in an hour and a half to 2 hours. I loved the game so much. It's one of my favourite games of all time, and its story is just tenfold better than Resident Evil 1, and in my opinion, it deserves the S tier. Resident Evil 0, I'd put up at the top of B. With me recently recompleting it, I've completed it twice now, and I've played it 3 to 4 times. But with the recent Resident Evil series done on my channel, I took big breaks, don't get me wrong. It was a frustrating ass game, and I loved the game after completing it, but it was so frustrating. No box, constantly dropping items, having to walk all the way back to pick up those items. And because of story progression, if you go back too far, you come to face heavy mini bosses or characters and creatures that you shouldn't really be fighting at that stage. For example, leaving the training facility to go to the church. I had to go back and pick up some decently big items. Got killed by two white monkeys. So it's like, I wasn't expecting it. I understand it. It's forcing you to like not go back and get the weaponry or the ammunition, health, ink ribbons. It it added a lot of challenge to it, and I loved how much challenge there really was in Resident Evil Zero. The two-player dynamic for single player is difficult, confusing. Sometimes it gets over the top and boring, but then when you hit a story beat, it makes it so much more fun. So yeah, Resident Evil Zero, top of B at the moment, and I have a feeling it's going to stay top of B. I loved the game when I completed it. Dead Aim. I've actually completed Dead Aim countless of times, and I loved Dead Aim so much. I've I'm not going to spend too much on the smaller games. I'm going to speak more on the bigger games, like the main storyline. But when it comes to Resident Evil Dead Aim, it added the fun element that was missing from Resident Evil. All this time it was like horror, it was zombies, BOWs, mutated creatures, and Umbrella. Dead Aim was just, it was the fun that you needed to have in a Resident Evil. It didn't throw too much fun to make it an action, it didn't throw too much fun to make it an RPG. It was just that much fun that you could just sit back and relax and have fun with other people or yourself. And I loved Dead Aim because of it. Resident Evil Outbreak 1, I haven't played, so I'm going to put it in D. And I would change that to haven't played. Sorry, I've missed the apostrophe. So, Outbreak 1, I haven't played. Outbreak 2, I haven't played. But I have watched. Well, I'll get rid of that and just have it back to D. And I'm just going to rank them of what I know. So, Outbreak, it was a very interesting game for me to watch someone play. I remember watching my friend play Resident Evil Outbreak 2, and I remember me and my friend, that friend who played Resident Evil Outbreak 2, we both watched someone play it for number one. And it was a very, very intriguing game for me, and I do want to play it at some point. Don't get me wrong, I really would love to play Outbreak 1 and 2. I just haven't played either. But for Outbreak 1, I'll put it above Survivor, and Outbreak 2, I'll put it behind. Oh, no, I'll put it in C. At the top of C. Outbreak was a great game when me and my mate watched someone play it, and Outbreak 2, I didn't get along with when I was watching my mate play it. But two games are good nonetheless. Resident Evil 4. S tier. Resident Evil 4 was a complete change. It was lucky. I was lucky with the game being announced, released on my birthday, and I eventually played it. I played it once, and I got to Salazar, the Salazar boss on the PlayStation 3, and I didn't touch it for years after that. I just didn't really like the game. I got a decent way through, I just didn't really like it. Replayed it before Resident Evil 4 Remake got announced, and I fully enjoyed it. I loved the story, I loved the combat, I loved the over the head shoulder. And Resident Evil 4 was a new layer per se. Resident Evil 1 was the new layer. Then Resident Evil 1 HD Remastered was the new layer. Resident Evil 4 is the new layer. There's just layer after layer after layer, and Resident Evil 4 just hit it on the head. It showed the world what Resident Evil can become, and Resident Evil 4 is probably one of the bigger Resident Evil games. I'm not going to put it there. I'm actually going to put it ahead of Resident Evil Original, behind HD Remastered. I don't think it's better than HD Remastered, but this was a controlling Leon. It's just so much easier than having to deal with the camera angles in Resident Evil 1. Resident Evil Umbrella Chronicles. I haven't played. I've watched someone play it. I'm gonna put it underneath 0. It's close. I could put it above 0, but I'm putting it underneath. It's solely a Resident Evil game based off Wesker. Um, I don't mind the game. I I feel like it's got enough story to it and enough gameplay to it to make it a standout Resident Evil game. I just don't connect with it as much as I do with, say, Dead Aim or Gaiden, Outbreak, and 0. But I know the game's lore. I know the lore of Resident Evil, and it's so deep and thick. But Resident Evil Umbrella Chronicles, its lore just connects to most of the games in the franchise. That you might not even realize it connects, and it does. Resident Evil, I think this is Darkside Chronicles. Oh, that's Darkside, that's Umbrella Chronicles, that's Darkside Chronicles. Leon and Claire, I love this game. I'm putting it above 0. I have played this. It's a difficult one to talk about, really. I don't remember it, I just know the cover, but okay, so I've jogged my memory with Umbrella Chronicles and Darkside Chronicles. Darkside Chronicles is superiorly better. It added a nice retrospective, a nice spin and twist to the Resident Evil franchise with the Wii. Yes, we've had other Wii games on this list that I've already ranked, but Darkside Chronicles was the best out of the lot. And it had the more story, it had the more narrative beats, it had the more connections. It is it's overall the better Wii game, in my opinion. I've played it once and I want to play it again now after jogging my memory. So, with what I know from it, I'm actually going to be putting Resident Evil 0 on top. I think the story in 0 carries 0 a lot more than it would against Darkside Chronicles. Mercenaries 3D, I'm putting at the bottom of C. In my opinion, I don't like the game. I do not enjoy it. I don't get people that think this is their favourite game because you've got Resident Evil 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 coming out, and you've got Code Veronica, you've got remakes as well. It's one of the games that I've very rarely want to play. I've played it once because Resident Evil, I play as much games as I can, and in my opinion, it's just not fun. It's not fun, and that's what I'm going to say about it. Resident Evil Operation Raccoon City. Right. Unpopular opinion, and this is my opinion, I adore this game so much. It added a spin that you wouldn't expect on Resident Evil. And when I played it on the PlayStation 3, I played it on and off until I decided, you know what, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to complete it. I completed it and I wanted to immediately replay it with as controlling a different mercenary or a member of Hunk's B team, which is the team that you ultimately play. I like the twist that they have at the end with Leon, Claire, and Sherry. I also like the twist with William Birkin, the Mr. X's, the Hunters, the Crimson Heads. Crimson Heads were a bit off, but I enjoyed the game. It isn't a game that is canon, but some parts of it could be taken as canon, and I think some parts of it is. As for what I would rank it, from my personal experience when it comes to playing these games and narrative, lore, and just a Resident Evil game in general, unpopular opinion, I'm putting it at the top of B. I really, really liked Resident Evil Operation Raccoon City, and I highly recommend someone play it, or two people play it. It's a very fun game. Resident Evil Revelations 1. Brilliant Revelations game. It's better than the second, definitely in my opinion. It definitely is. But putting it in A behind Resident Evil 2. Yeah, It's going behind Resident Evil 2 original. And I'm going to put Mercenaries 3D at D, but Resident Evil Revelations 1, it wasn't the game people asked for, but it was the game the people needed. It filled in a lot of gaps. It continued the story for Jill Valentine, because we haven't heard from Jill at this point properly since Resident Evil 3. And look at how many games came after Resident Evil 3. Code Veronica, all of these games here. And then you get Revelations, which continues on from Resident Evil 3 pretty much, with a big jump in time, obviously. But its combat was interesting. It was unique. I loved the story in it. Its narrative could have had some work done, but it was good enough. Resident Evil 5. I completed this for the first time actually streaming with Nathan. It wasn't my fault. I didn't record any of it. When I tried, it wouldn't upload, so hopefully one day I get back to it, which I will. Let's be honest, I'm playing all of the mainline Resident Evil games, so I will get back to it at some point. Story, I loved the story. The combat, I enjoyed the combat. When it came to character models, I found most of it a bit iffy, like the Lickers. The Lickers don't have a big protruding brain, they have a slick back brain. But regardless, I loved the story in this. I loved the middle act, the second act. I just loved it, from the pickup from Josh at the oil field all the way to the Mayan temple against Wesker and Jill. All of that was peak. I loved it. The final act, it was a bit tough, it was a bit confusing, and too much too quickly, but for God, me and Nathan absolutely love this, and I wouldn't be surprised if we go back to it at some point. But I'm actually going to be putting Resident Evil 5 in front of Revelations 1. I fully enjoyed Resident Evil 5. I really did. I want to go back to it. It's just I don't want to go back to it as a single player. I want to go back to it as a multiplayer. Single player, I've heard, is very, 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 very tough. Revelations 2, like I mentioned, Revelations 1 is the better game, in my opinion. So I'm going to put Revelations 2 actually behind Revelations 1. It's better than 0. It's better than Operation Raccoon City. It's not better than Revelations 1. And the reason why is because the story is a bit more grounded. It gets a lot more action-packed than Revelations 1. And Revelations 2 has a bit more of a clunky design and graphic behind it. Its graphics is on par with Revelations 1, even though there was quite a bit of years after Revelations 1 when Revelations 2 came out. They could have improved so much with the graphics, but they didn't. But Revelations 2 is a good game nonetheless. Umbrella Corps, D. I don't need to further talk about that. Right, Resident Evil 6. I have yet to complete it. I'm currently playing it with Nuke Army. We've completed Leon's, we've completed Chris's campaign, we're going to do Sherry's, and then I'm going to do Ada's. But once I get back to it, I will be playing this by myself. Hell, I might even play Resident Evil 5 by myself, even though that I said I want to play multiplayer. Who knows? Resident Evil 6, it's widely considered the worst Resident Evil title in all of Capcom's Resident Evil catalogue. It's more action-packed than it is horror, but I enjoy it. I don't hate it, but I understand the hate. It's not a horror game anymore. It's set in a direction that no fan wants to go down, which is the action and the QTEs, the constant QTEs, remind you. But in my opinion, Resident Evil 6, I'm putting it at the bottom of A. It's going to stay bottom of A regardless, no matter what. I'm not moving it up. It's staying bottom of A. It's a key game. It's a core game. You have to play it if you want to play throughout the entire franchise. People say skip it because it's the worst game. Don't skip it. It's got a lot of story. There aren't many notes in the game, which upsets me. But there's enough story in the action. There's enough story in the campaigns. I I really want to play it again, and I want to get through the Resident Evil franchise quick enough to replay it. It's a fun game, but I understand the hate. But personally, bottom of A for me. Resident Evil 7, I'm actually going to be putting above Nemesis, Resident Evil 3. Immediately, it revived the Resident Evil franchise. After 6, it bombed. No one liked it. Very few people like myself did. But Resident Evil 7 completely revived the genre. It completely revived the survival horror genre. It brought an entirely new point of view and aspect to the franchise. And I've completed it once and I've replayed it a few times, and it's so difficult. The first half of the game is unbelievably difficult. It throws you in immediately, and that's what we needed from Resident Evil title. Go straight in. There is tutorials, barely any tutorials, mind, but that the story was great. The location at the Baker estate was amazing. The Chris at the end, we don't talk about that, but it's probably one of the best well-rounded Resident Evil titles. They took time with it, they took pride and care, they cradled it and they released it, and it succeeded. And now we're because of Resident Evil 7, I now think we're in a new franchise of remakes where we're basing the remakes off the foundation of 7. We'll do Village after 3 remake, but Resident Evil 2 remake, my favourite Resident Evil. I love 2 remakes so much, and I say that, but HD remastered of the first game is also my favourite. Nonetheless, I know where Resident Evil 2 remake stands, and I'm putting it at the top of S tier. It's definitely one of the best games ever made as well, in my opinion. Again, my opinion. It's all my opinion. From the immediate start with Leon, the immediate start with Claire, both playable characters have 2 different stories each. Leon A and Claire B. Leon C, Claire A. Leon B, Claire A. It's perfect. It's just puts you in different locations, different loot, different possibilities, and you get to the same conclusion. It's definitely got the second most hours out of me in Resident Evil. Resident Evil HD Remastered has the most, but Resident Evil 2 is creeping up very quickly. And when I go back to play it on my channel, because once I've done 2 original, I'll be doing 2 remake, 3 original, 3 remake, 4 original, 4 remake, and then 5, 6, so on and so forth. So Resident Evil 2 remake is going to be quite soon, and I'm looking forward to it. Believe you and me, it always gets me hyped. It always gets me excited when I go and play it. And the whole shock factor of upgrading Resident Evil 7 to 2 with the Stalker, they've done it perfectly. They made it from a little section in the game to you have an entire police station where you're being hunted. Make any noise, you're screwed. It forces you to take caution, to take each step with a light touch. It takes every bullet wanting a silencer. It's just a great game. It's well balanced in my opinion, and it might be the best Resident Evil game for me. Resident Evil 3 remake, I loved the game. I've completed it twice. I really, really loved the game, but I'm looking at what's in S. It's top of A. It does not deserve S tier because why did they cut so much out of the game? They cut 40% of the original Nemesis, Resident Evil 3 Nemesis game. They cut 40% of it. Why? I wanted to go through the police station as Jill, witness Nemesis break through the window. Like the biggest thing in Resident Evil 3 was that, and You don't get that. You get it as Carlos. You see the events of Resident Evil 2. You see the walls. You are the cause for many of the routes being opened. You're the cause of all the walls. You see corpses that you find as Leon and Claire in Resident Evil 2. You watch them become corpses. You watch them become zombies, lickers, die. It's entertaining. It's fun. It's a nice perspective, but they cut so much from it. For a remake, it was great. It wasn't perfect. Resident Evil 2 was beyond perfect. It was a brand new game in itself. Resident Evil 3 wasn't a brand new game in itself. It just improved with the remake side, but it didn't improve with the original side, which was its original Resident Evil 3 Nemesis. Village, I haven't actually completed it, I've played it, but I have watched a lot of people play it, a lot of people, different perspectives, different thoughts, and my thought has come clear. It's a very enjoyable game, and I'm actually going to put it at bottom of S. I, I, I'm so torn about it because it gives you so much lore that is missing from Resident Evil 7 and how Resident Evil 7 even connects to the rest of the franchise. Resident Evil 8 fills that gap perfectly with notes in the dungeons when you find Mia, with Ethan and Chris's relationship, with Chris at the end. It fills in that gap that was desperately needed in 7. 7's perfect for Resident Evil fans, don't get me wrong, but that entire gap for how it connects the rest of the franchise is clearly missing. 8 fills it. Village perfectly fills in that gap with solid evidence. Gameplay is perfectly entertaining. It's difficult as well at the beginning, just like Resident Evil 7. It's so difficult at the beginning. It's intriguing, and without Village, I generally think Resident Evil wouldn't be going as far as it will be now. I will always tell new players who want to witness Resident Evil to play Village in like the top 3 games to play. It would be Resident Evil 1 original, it would be Resident Evil 2 remake, and it would be Village. They're the 3 games that I would always tell people to play to start off learning the way the game is. You've got the originality of Resident Evil 1, you've got the new gen first person in Resident Evil 8 Village, and then you've got the remake taster with Resident Evil 2 remake. It's perfect game. Village is a great game. Perfect game, great game. They're both the same thing right now. Resistance and Reverse, they're both D. I'd actually put Resistance at the top and I'll put Reverse halfway. I preferred Resistance over Reverse. Reverse was more of a definitely PvP. You have characters, you can play as Leon, you can play as Claire, you can play as Jill, you can play as Hunk, you can play as BOWs. Yeah, it was fun. But Reverse, you actually was the guy behind your laptop. You were the guy on the PC controlling BOWs, controlling zombies. You're controlling everything in a small enclosed environment against four basic civilians trying to get out of that nightmare. I fully enjoyed Resistance. I didn't play much of it because it died out pretty quickly. Same with Reverse. I came to it when it was dying out really quickly. I really wish people still played them both though. Resident Evil 4 remake. I prefer 2 remake, but Resident Evil 4 remake is definitely second on this list for me. It changed remakes forever. You got in the original 4, you find the dog pretty early on, the dog that's snared by the bear trap. You go to Resident Evil 4 remake, you don't see that dog, you see a carcass, you see a wolf carcass, and you're like, it's this type of game. Things have changed. It's going to be this type of different game. Quarter of the way through, you find the dog. snared in a bear trap. You're like, perfect. The first location at the village, better than original. The fight against Salazar, the entire castle, was better than the original. The merchant was better than the original. It was just the perfect Resident Evil remake, along with 2. 2 and 4 are the two best remakes of all, in my opinion, of all gaming history. 2 and 4 are the best remakes of any game. 3 is probably about under 10th, like 10th, 20th, but this is my list. I think it's perfect. You've got. I'm gonna put Resident Evil Survivor at C actually, with it being like that. So in last we've got Umbrella Corps, RE-verse, Resident Evil, the Mercenaries 3D, and Resistance. Then you've got Resident Evil Survivor 2, Resident Evil Outbreak 2, and Survivor 1. Then in B, you've got Resident Evil Outbreak 1, Resident Evil Gaiden, Dead Aim, Umbrella Chronicles, Darkside Chronicles, Zero, and Operation Raccoon City. In A, we've got 6, Revelations 2, Revelations 1, 5, 2 Original, Code Veronica, and Resident Evil 3 Remake. In S, we've got Village, we've got Resident Evil 3 Nemesis, Resident Evil 7 Biohazard, Resident Evil 1 Original, Resident Evil 4 Original, and the top 3 is 3rd Resident Evil HD Remastered, 2nd Resident Evil 4 Remake, and 1st Resident Evil 2 Remake. As for Resident Evil 9, I'm predicting it. It might be the best Resident Evil game out there to date. We've got a beloved character returning in Leon Kennedy. We've got a hint of Sherry Birkin. We might have Ada, we might have Jill, we might have Chris, we might have Barry, we might have a lot more characters return than just Leon and Sherry. So my question is Resident Evil 9 going to be a flop or is it going to be a success? I think it's going to be a perfect success. With what Resident Evil 7 and 8 did, it started a new storyline. It started from fresh. And Resident Evil 9 started from fresh. New character, a new main character. Then you've got a returning main character who you haven't heard from since, let's see, Resident Evil 6. You've got a new character in Grace, you've got a returning character in Leon. Both of them are 9 hours apiece, 18 hours of gameplay plus. And yeah, we might lose Leon. I don't want to lose Leon. I just hope he retires. And this is what I want to see after 9. I want them to do other games and we close the stories of the original characters. Leon, Jill, Chris, Barry, Rebecca Chambers, Claire Redfield. We need... Sheva comes back. I want to see Sheva come back. Billy. I want to see Billy come back from Zero. There's just so many characters that need an ending, and I think Resident Evil 9 is going to be the start of it. We're going to have an ending for Leon, and I think after that it's going to be an ending for Chris. And I think in Resident Evil, the next Resident Evil after 9, it will be a Jill game, a Jill and Chris game, maybe even a Jill and Rebecca, or could it be that Leon survives and we get Jill and Leon as playable characters for the first time in a Resident Evil game? Who knows? Regardless, this is my list. Feel free to debacle amongst yourselves in the comments if you wish to do so. As usual, my name's been The Welsh Assassin. Please like and subscribe. And until Resident Evil 9, hwyl fawr.